All right. Hello, LinkedIn land, and now on YouTube and Instagram. Woohoo! Misha Saffron here, and I'm super excited to be with some beautiful humans as everyone is now slowly catching up to this idea. I'm doing this bi-weekly. So we've already had some fabulous topics. What is a corporate fit really? Need permission to play, unwind with joy, and empathy is a superpower, not a liability. And today, we are focusing on building psychological safety as the new corporate currency. And
Mhm.
so I'm going to introduce our panelists shortly, but I want to mention to everyone watching my rules as a panel leader is authenticity. Go where you need to go, of course, appropriately, and then we engage with the audience. So if you are watching, whether you're watching currently or you're watching the replay, please put comments or questions in the chat. Even respond to the questions that we are asking, because your input is just as valuable. We want this to be a conversation, an authentic, caring, compassionate, honest, transparent conversation. A lot of requirements there. I know you can all follow it. It's going to be okay. So I'm super excited. I'm going to, as I introduce the panelists, I'm still learning how to use Restream. So sometimes I might zoom in on the wrong person and I'll switch it really quickly. So just handle that. We're good. But I want to introduce first and foremost my mentor, and that is Annie Meehan. And I'm going to put Annie's QR code up here if anybody wants to connect with Annie on LinkedIn. And let me see if I can actually get you to be larger. Go ahead and introduce yourself, Annie. Tell people what you do and why you decided to say yes to me to be on this panel.
So I'm Annie Meehan out of Florida, and I'm a CSP, which means I'm a certified speaking professional. It means that I qualified kind of like a certified financial advisor or certified accountant, if you're familiar with the C, certified. So I'm a certified speaking professional, and then I'm a presentations coach. So I coach people on how to make their presentation connect, be brilliant, and be referable. So I get to work with lots of different clients and encourage them how to tell their story in a way that they connect with their audience. I've written 11 books. Won an international award. I speak all over the world. And when I'm speaking, it's always under the umbrella of motivation with a focus on mental health, communication, and confidence. And then I coach about 20% of my business, helping people with confidence, presentation skills. And so that's who I am. And I love my work. And I got to meet Misha and get to mentor and coach her to more and more stages, being paid better and better all the time.
That's right. Hiring those of us who usually aren't the status quo. We're stepping out and being larger and in charger. That's awesome. And Annie, what is it about this topic that really, I don't know, excites you, if it excites you?
Well, what intrigued me, I don't know if the word would be excite, but intrigued me is the word safety. And it breaks my heart a bit that there's so many people in the world in different places, in the corporate world, in their own business, and just walking the streets that don't feel safe. And so that is what really, that was the word that stood out to me, Misha. And I thought, good for Misha. I love it when she says she's going to do something and she does it. So good. Now it doesn't matter how, but that was the word in the question that stood out to me is safety. And how can I be a
Yeah.
contributor to people feeling safe in any environment and not a contributor to anything that makes people feel overly vulnerable or unsafe beyond where they want to be. So in their authenticity, so safety.
Fabulous. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for introducing that. And yes, I think that it's what's, and this is a reminder to the audience, when I ask the panelists questions, they get to answer it any way they want to. So I said excite. She said, I don't know about excited, maybe intrigue. And this is what needs to be okay. And I think this is an element of creating psychological
Mhm.
safety. So we'll get more into that, but let's introduce also a dear human, which is Rebecca. And Rebecca, tell us who you are and what intrigues, excites, or brings up for you with this
Yes.
topic.
So my name is Rebecca, and I am a master certified emotion coach. So I'm trauma aware and IFS informed. And so I work with clients to dig deep into emotions in such a way that they can live fully present with their emotions, instead of emotions being something that's like, well, I get really, really angry and then I don't know what to do, or I experience a lot of anxiety and then I don't know what to do. And so I love just helping people find freedom, loving their emotions, partnering with their emotions, accepting their emotions, and then seeing how our emotional intelligence actually carries us through life well. In work, helps us to show up more with our family, helps us to show up more in relationships. So this concept and idea of emotions being a really amazing part of who we are and kind of carrying us through. And you had said, so interestingly, I think the first thing that came up for me when seeing the topic was like, oh, that usually makes me very sad. And I think that's because I didn't always experience safety in the workplace. And so looking at those topics and just going, oh, I think that sometimes it is so lacking in the workplace. And then thinking through my experience as a manager and what I wanted for my staff and what it looked like to try and get it when you know that it's going to be hard, if that makes sense. So interestingly for me, it was maybe more of a sadness and just going, oh, I feel like this is so missing. And I experienced it being missing. And I know that it was missing for my staff, but also have the experience of wanting them to experience that. So that was what it brought up for me.
Yeah, yeah. And again, those of you just joining us, the topic is building psychological safety as a new corporate currency. And so I heard from Annie,
Mhm.
safety. And that part was intriguing because anytime we can make this world a safer place for anybody, that brings, it's like heartfelt, right? And for Rebecca, what I'm hearing is that initially it was like, oh,
Yeah.
sadness because it's lacking. It's really lacking, right? So thank you both for that. And we have Tiffany from Disrupt HR is in the audience. Thank you, Tiffany, for being here. Super excited that you're joining us. I'm so privileged to have met Tiffany in El Paso when I was speaking at Disrupt 2 weeks ago. And it's fun when I see these highlights. I can actually go and go there, LinkedIn user, but it's Tiffany. I know it's Tiffany because I saw it on LinkedIn. So I'm gonna unhide that. So the first question, and for everybody watching, this is a 30-minute conversation. We try not to go too far over or under, but we just want to inspire you for the day or for the week. It's a Monday, so take a Monday and take these thoughts and move forward. So the first question, I want all of you to know that you can feel free to type your questions, your comments on whatever channel you might be watching, because we really want to engage with you. Okay. You can agree, you can disagree, you can offer whatever it is that is coming up for you. Maybe you have questions about what does it mean. We may not answer everything today, but we'll try to go back into the comments later. Again, LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, and address whatever you have asked. So the first question, panelists, is for you to answer in any way you can. We're not expected to be perfect here, okay? What practical steps can leaders take to create a culture where employees feel safe to speak up and share ideas, even when they challenge the status quo? I'll keep that on the screen for a little bit while y'all think about your responses. And to those in the audience, some people need the verbal, some people need the audio, some people, I'm sorry, the verbal need the written. But what practical steps can leaders take to create a culture where employees feel safe to speak up and share ideas, even when they challenge the status quo? So who wants to come in first?
I'm ready. Whoever. Yeah.
Yes, come
All right.
on in. Come
All
on in,
right.
Annie.
So I always think it's such a responsibility. And for some, maybe you feel like a burden as a leader, but it doesn't matter if it takes extra time. Get to know your team, get to know your employees, and get to know them as human beings inside the office and outside the office. Because when people feel, it's like the saying, people do business with who they like, know, and trust. Well, it's the same thing for employees. The way we're going to stay working with you is when we know you and you know us. You like us, we feel liked, we feel seen, we feel valued. But a really important thing, especially I'm an extrovert, that's my natural personality, but I recognize in the work I do, especially not everybody is an extrovert. There's a lot of introverts and there's a lot of intimidation. My background comes from the financial world, and the floor I worked on, as I relate to Rebecca, had 440 people. 20 of us were women. So 420 men who were allowed to look at any of our body parts and talk to them rather than our face. There was nothing about that that made us feel safe, seen, or valued. So recognize people as human beings first, number one. Number two, get to know them thoroughly. And then I was thinking, we have to sometimes as leaders draw out. It doesn't matter the personality type, introvert, extrovert, where they land on the DISC assessment or any other assessment. We have to ask, Misha, what do you think about that? Rebecca, how are you feeling about that? We have to call people out in the most safe and saying, you know what, I'm open to anything. I know this isn't perfect. You can agree with me, you can disagree with me, you can encourage this idea, or you can tell me what's not working. In fact, I always feel like as an owner of gyms, I was a leader of many people. And I always thought I like to hear people that don't agree with me. That ad's not going to work. I don't think that, because what it does is get me to have a broader perspective of the clients we serve. So leaders can be supportive, encouraging, and kind in getting to know who they work with and also sharing their own. You have a dog, I have a dog. Oh my gosh, you love to go to the beach, I love to go to the mountains. Sharing that inner exchange, asking questions, but sharing, but also calling on every person in a meeting and letting them weigh in and saying there's no wrong. Maybe not, some people say there are some stupid questions, but there's no wrong questions. There's no wrong challenge. And I value you enough to value opinion, even if you disagree with me. So I think there's a lot of ways we can make the work corporate culture much safer and much more inclusive to value everybody at every level and every title inside the corporation. So that's what I would say.
You know, Annie, I am so glad you said something that really touched my heart, which is I am okay if you disagree with me. In fact, what I want to add to that is if people are willing to disagree with you, it means you've made them feel safe to do so,
Yes.
right? You've cultivated an environment where someone can say, "Oh, I don't know, Annie. I don't actually have that
Yes.
perspective." Because you're a person who's saying, "I accept all of who you
Yes.
are. I don't have to like
Yeah.
it. I can dislike it," but you're accepting their viewpoint to the point where you give them the space to share it, even if it's not of the same perspective.
100%.
And that's really
And something else,
Yep, go ahead.
Misha, I thought about is it also is a level of humility. And humble leaders are so make the culture so much safer. I don't have to be right every time, even if I'm the leader. Great leaders say, I don't have to be right. This is an idea. This is where we're going. Tell me what's wrong. Poke holes in it so I can be prepared for people outside of this room that are going to poke holes, our buyer, our client. And so I kind of love people that disagree with me. I always feel like it shows their confidence, it shows their communication skills, and it allows me to stay humble. I'm not perfect. I don't have all the answers. I'm not always right. Just like you said, we all get to have our own answers and opinions and wisdom. But when people feel safe to challenge us and we stay humble enough to be challenged in our thought. Yeah. I mean, I have a recent experience with it and they said they doubled down on being right instead of being open to listening to a woman challenging, is there enough female speakers? And you and I have talked about that a lot. And instead of saying, maybe there's not, they doubled down on it's my deal and you don't get to tell me. And it was like, here's an opportunity for growth. Don't be. Anyway, so that doesn't build safety. Right? I'm sorry. I don't want to go too much into that.
Absolutely. No, I think it's important. We're not going to obviously talk on that whole topic, but yes, obviously there are some voices that need to be on the stage, and some people prefer. Now, I'm also laughing because when I was younger, my dad said, "Honey, you are right, but not everybody needs to know it." Which in some cases it was no, it was a good thing. It was a good lesson because trying to prove the point, hone in, double down, but it could also be very offensive and hurtful to
Mm,
other people, right? Where you're not giving them enough space to also be right, because we can be right. So many of us can be right at
that's
the
right.
same time. And oftentimes when we think we're right, nobody else can be right. That's a
Yes,
problem. But we both can be right at the same time because we have different
that's right.
experiences. So thank you for that, Annie. I want to bring Rebecca in. Please bring your voice in, Rebecca, however way you want to.
Yeah.
Come
I
on
was
in.
smiling because as Annie started talking about, know your people, and I was like, that's the first thing that I was going to say is know your people. I think that being known and being seen is one of the biggest things that creates safety for us. Like, oh, hey, my colleagues know me so well. I know that it's safe to bring up a topic of conversation. And so I won't, continue on that topic because you covered it so well. But that was the first thing I was going to say is know your people. And then the second one is actually listen. And I think actually listening can be hard sometimes, especially if you're in a leadership position, because we're often so busy. It's easy to kind of give half an ear to it, but not actually take the time to pause and really hear what they're telling you. And I think that the ability to make someone really feel heard, really connected to as they discuss a topic can bring a lot of safety there, not dismissing, not being off in some other world while they're talking to you, but being fully present and having that, conversation and validating. Just being heard is validation enough. But whether you agree or disagree with someone, you can still make them feel validated in that, oh, hey, I hadn't thought about that. Tell me more. Oh, hey, I'm not even sure what to do with that. Tell me more about it. And I think sometimes, and I think oftentimes, that requires us being aware enough of ourselves to know why we wouldn't listen in the first place, or why we would, shut down. Annie, you gave that example of somebody doubling down, like, no, I don't need you to tell me that. Why would we do that in a situation where you know your staff and they're giving you their best? They're bringing the best to the table. So why would we shut them down if they're talking about something that makes us uncomfortable or that we're not sure how to handle? And so I think a big one is know them, listen to them. And then if you find yourself not knowing what to do with something that your staff is bringing up to you, an uncomfortable topic, they're saying, hey, something's happening in the workplace, and you're going, oof, I don't know what to do about that. Challenge yourself to sit with the lack of comfort you might feel on that topic and figure out, well, why am I uncomfortable this in the first place? Sometimes as it's a leader, it's because you actually have to go do something about it. That's okay. Like that, part of your job sometimes when you're in a leadership position is that you have the permission and oftentimes the ability to go and advocate for that person somewhere else when they can't advocate for themselves. So recognize that when you're in a leadership position, oftentimes, especially if you've created that safety for your staff, you're the first point of call for them to feel like they're being listened to and that somebody might try to do something about it. And I've been in positions where when my staff brought things to my attention that I couldn't do something about, I still tried. And I remember telling one of my staff, like, hey, I want you to know I'm going to go have a conversation about this. And I don't know if there's anything I can do, and I felt frustrated with that, but I was really honest and said, I'm still going to go have the conversation and I'm still going to try. I want something to happen. I just can't make that promise. And that's an uncomfortable position to be in, and one of the things I had to challenge myself to do was it's okay. I pep talking to myself, Rebecca, it's okay for you to be uncomfortable with the fact you might not be able to fix this. You should still try. You should still have a healthy conversation. Take it to your bosses. Go and push for something to change so that your staff can feel safe in the workplace. Yeah.
What an amazing opportunity to model vulnerability.
Yeah.
To be able to say, I don't know if I can fix this, or I can't fix this, but I'm going to do what I can to find out how, or I'm going to do what I can to gain more information, right? And so in doing that, you're modeling that it's okay not to have all the answers, but that you're willing to continue to seek the answers. And I really truly believe, going back to, I'm just going to put it up here on the screen so people can see it again, building psychological safety as a new corporate currency. There's so many examples out in the world where when people double down on being right, like Annie said, or Rebecca, I keep wanting to say Rachel because that's your sister's
Okay.
name too. Rebecca, we're here with Rebecca. When we say, I'm not so sure, we're giving people the space to do the same. You don't have to double down on being right. You don't have to know the answer. But when you're fully invested in creating a culture where people can be creative and innovative and explorative together, wow, what a gift.
Yeah.
And they can be different. And Rebecca did such a beautiful job of
Yes.
displaying, I heard you. And that I want to change it, but it doesn't mean, but you listened. And we can be different. We can look different. We can think different. We can act different. We can have a different lens. We do have a different lens. And that's that safety of the culture, right? That's that creating, you don't have to agree with me just because I'm the leader. And that ego and power really hurts organizations, and it hurts the safety and the currency because, no, I'm right because I'm in charge. Well, that's not true. That might not be true. And what if it's
Yeah.
not? What if you could be better? When we stay humble, we allow people at any level to teach us, right? So
Yes.
Mhm.
I love that.
So how could we summarize, thank you for that, Annie. How can we summarize practical steps leaders can take to create this culture? Could each of you just kind of take what you said and say what your 1 or 2 points are so we do like a summary before we go to the second question?
I like the intention of intentional time. I don't think it has to be a lot of times. In fact, I really think as a leader, 7 minutes of intentional time with each person that
Mm.
works for you is enough. 7 minutes on Tuesday, we meet, 7 minutes on Wednesday, we meet, and I just check in with you. Are you okay? What's going on? Do you need my support on anything? How's it going at home? I know you said your mom was sick. Or I know reminding our team that we hear them. So intentional time scheduled, listening to them, asking great questions, especially at meetings where there can be that intimidation factor of other peers and the leader. Those are some of mine.
Yeah.
Great, thank you. Rebecca, how about for you?
You'd said summary stuck out to me. So that's where my brain went. I would say, know your
That's all
staff,
right.
listen, and know yourself. So use Annie's 7-minute tool to know your staff. Make sure that you're actually spending the time to listen, book that in, and then make sure that you're spending the time both at work and outside of work to know yourself well enough that you can call out when you aren't listening, when you're uncomfortable, and when the fear or the nervousness that that creates internally makes you pause as a leader in creating safety for your staff.
Love both of those. And I'll just take a moment to also say, for me, oftentimes people confuse professional with dull. And so I want to implore upon corporate communities, profit, nonprofit communities, that practical steps that you can take to create a culture where employees feel safe to speak and share their ideas is to play
Mm.
together. Find moments of joy, but play and joy that are appropriate for everyone. Make sure people are okay. Oftentimes sarcasm can run through an organization and really create toxicity, right? So find ways to enjoy. I had a property management group walking around like wind-up toys, together. We've done secret handshakes where people can have a secret handshake, and when they see each other down the hallway, they can go, "Hey," and do that little handshake, and then just keep going on their way. So find ways to play and be in joy with each other. Okay, so we're going to go to the next question, and we're down to 8 minutes, so we have to finish up here. So, next question is, how can organizations measure or recognize the presence of psychological safety? I feel like we addressed this a little bit, but we can add more to it. So, how can organizations measure or recognize the presence of psychological safety, and what impact does it have on performance and well-being? And I'll leave this up for just a little bit for both of you to see it, register it.
Yeah.
And maybe we went first with, oh, go ahead. Whoever wants to
If
go
you're
first.
ready, Annie, that's great. Go for it.
I'm born ready, Rebecca.
I'm here. I'm here for it.
I think the first thing is turnover, right? Like that's a great indicator. When
Mm,
people are leaving all the time, they don't feel safe is a big part of it. People blame the paycheck, even say they're leaving for the paycheck. But if they felt connected and safe, they don't want to leave because they know not every place is safe. So turnover. The second thing is ask. Like I always feel like we shouldn't assume, oh, everyone, you show up every Monday, so you must be happy. No. Do you feel
mhm,
safe? And I think that direct question, which is a hard question, do you feel safe here? Like, what if I tell you no? Then is it retaliation? Do you make me the problem? So I think asking, I think turnover, and then well-being is creating that culture. I love what you just said, Misha. I think when we're laughing together and we're not just all work and numbers and end of the day ROI, that part of the ROI is wanting to show up for work, not just showing up. And so that's kind of what came to my
Mm.
head right away is your turnover numbers, you're asking directly, do you feel safe here? Or maybe not even do you feel safe here? What can I do to
mm,
make the culture here feel safer? My daughter works in downtown Minneapolis and her company offers, without having to ask, we offer anybody an escort to the parking lots. There's a lot going on in the cities. We want to make sure you feel safe. If you need a walking buddy, we do. So that is what have solutions and then say, what can I do to make you feel safer inside and outside the workplace? I believe very much though, Misha, you are spot on when it says play together. And play can be also volunteering to paint a house for Habitat for Humanity that builds that connection and community. in a different way than just projects at work, volunteer together, do mission outreach together, do service together. So those are some of the things I think that keep a culture healthy, but I never think it's wrong to just be direct. Do you feel safe here? What could I do to make you feel safer? I'm noticing there's a lot of gossip, there's a lot of turnover. What am I missing? How can I be helpful to this situation? So
Absolutely. And that reminds me, like, what we don't know, we don't know. And there's no shame in asking. A person can choose not to
that's right.
respond. And that's another piece of psychological safety. Do they have the right not to
That's right.
respond? Well, it is a human right. It is a personal right not to respond. It's even, I have, what is the, I'm forgetting the way, have the right to remain
Um,
silent,
yeah.
right? So you can ask the question,
Mm.
but don't expect that they have to answer. So yeah, I love that. So pay attention to turnover, ask, do you feel safe here? And if they don't, what can I do to help you feel safer? Thank you, Annie, for that. Rebecca.
Same. I would add to that observing the environment that your staff have. If it seems like it's toxic or there's a lot of gossip and a lot of complaints. I worked in an environment where we didn't have high turnover, but there were reasons. There was a specific reasons why there wasn't high turnover, and it wasn't because all the staff necessarily felt safe. So I love when you said that, Annie. I was like, oh yeah, that is a good indicator. But when it isn't, environment, if all of your staff every day are showing up and you're realizing that you constantly hear people being dissatisfied in the workplace, that could be an indicator that, hey, they don't actually feel safe. You haven't created an environment or a space where they can show up and be real and be themselves. And so they're dissatisfied and may not feel like they can leave. And this question had asked for tools. One of the things that I have been finding that I'm excited about, but haven't had a chance to explore a lot, is there are companies out there who are creating digital tools to try and help companies better track the psychological safety of their staff. I haven't seen these in action yet. I came across one through a recent connection that's called Grace X, and it's in Australia specifically. But when I was reading up on them, and I was like, okay, they're creating a tool that's designed to try and actually help you measure how safe and how satisfied are your staff. What is their psychological health, so that using awareness, you could actually connect with them better. And then another one that I'm aware of that helps that specifically they work on is Anima Hub. So Anima Hub and Grace X, both companies who are working to help large corporations connect to their staff and try to give them tools to help track that psychological safety, create it. This is my understanding of what these tools do. And then ideally allow you as a larger corporation to address it if you don't have it. Like, okay, you can see, this is the environment you've created. What can you do to change that? So that probably both makes me nervous, but also excites me. I think, how much I would have enjoyed having a tool that would have helped my staff feel more connected and safe. Yeah.
Yeah. And just to kind of piggyback on that, or actually ask the two of you to add to this a little bit, what impact do you see the lack of psychological safety having on performance and well-being?
Yeah.
What can you add to that?
I think a lack of a desire to show up, which means less creativity. You don't have that safety. All of a sudden, your creativity is stifled because you don't feel safe to be yourself. You don't feel safe to bring your great ideas. And when your team has creativity, their ability to solve a problem, their ability to come at it from a completely different angle and create something amazing for your clients is huge. And so I see stagnation, like an inability to really get the kind of growth you want out of your product, out of your staff, out of your delivery when individuals don't feel safe.
Yeah. You make
Thank you.
me think of a time, Misha, a number of years ago. I got hired by a manager. She had 6 employees, and she said, I have a toxic work environment and I have a promotion, and they've all applied for it. And I went in and I asked this one question, which was fascinating to me because this one simple question made people not feel safe. Is it appropriate to talk about our personal lives at work, or should we just focus on and talk about work? Out of the 6 of them, 5 of them said, we should talk about our weekend and our vacations and our kids and our grandkids. And one of them said, absolutely not. We come here to work and I don't trust these women. They want to talk about their whole. What we ultimately found out is that this one woman was hard of hearing and a widow. She didn't have a very social weekend. She hated coming in and hearing how social their weekends are. and she couldn't hear. And we could make up all sorts of stories and judgments about her. And ultimately, what happened was she got the promotion because the promotion was to work quietly over in a corner and do her work. She was happy. All 5 of the other women were happy. And the manager loved me and said, "How did you do that?" And I said, "Sometimes it's just asking the right questions. Is it appropriate to talk about personal lives? Like, how can that be a safety question?" But it was. So sometimes as leaders, we need to know what are the right questions that make someone's hard of hearing. They don't want to constantly say, "I can't hear you," or they're a widow and they don't want to hear about your great marriage and your. We have to be sensitive to all our different stories. And I just remember the success that this place that they thought was toxic was just missing a few little things just by asking that right question. And all of them were thriving afterwards. And the manager was happy. And the environment wasn't toxic. It was just became bickering because of somebody's misunderstanding and lack of
Well, and disconnect. I mean, total disconnect. I mean, I'm hearing impaired. I get it. When people are really involved in their conversations and I'm sitting there smiling and just kind of participating because I'm grabbing onto little teeny bits here and there. I mean, it's a real great reminder, that we don't always, I said it earlier, we don't always know what we don't know. We can't
Yeah.
assume that it's toxic or that somebody who decides they don't want to be part of social life is because they don't want to get to know everybody. It's because they're grieving or they're struggling or they have somebody in ICU or whatever it is, right? So I just love that example, Annie. And it is our jobs as speakers, coaches, leaders to go under the iceberg. Dive deeper, find more, don't assume. That's why I tell people about empathy before accusation, curiosity, not condemnation, right? How can we really dive in and get more information before we make the decisions that cause so much harm?
Very much.
Yeah. So we are at time. So I want to give you each a little bit of wow, like flew by. I know that everybody that is watching or watching the replay, you have probably great ideas that you want to share with us. Please feel free to reach out to Rebecca, to Annie, to me to continue the conversation or to get our support. So each of you, I'd like to invite you to say again what service you offer and just a final golden nugget around psychological safety and this new corporate currency that's really, it's critical.
You go, Rebecca.
Okay. I was about to say you go. I mean, we'll bat the ball back and forth. So I am an emotion coach and I help people connect with their emotions in such a way that their emotions serve them well and they can live fully present. Understanding and enjoying all of the emotions that we inevitably experience as a human being. And then I think my gold nuggets and takeaways were that it's actually psychological safety is actually being talked about in the workplace, which is really exciting. And that the things that we can do as leaders to facilitate that are connect, be curious and ask questions, listen really well, and do the work on yourself so that you can show up as the best leader possible into that space.
Thank you. Wonderful takeaways. And
Beautiful.
Annie, please.
So I am Annie Meehan. I am a keynote speaker and an international award-winning author and a certified life coach. I coach on confidence, self-worth, self-doubt, communication, and mental health. How to overcome without letting your disruptions define your life. And what I want to say about this topic is stay humble. It's one of the hardest things, but when we allow our ego to lead, we start to think we're better than other people and we stop listening, we stop caring, and we stop being open to what is possible for us to develop and our organizations to develop. So stay humble, stay curious, keep listening, but most importantly, care about the people you work with and work for because they can feel it every single time.
Thank you so much. Thank you, both of you. And I'll just say to everyone, Misha Saffron here. I am also a keynote speaker, leadership trainer, and coach. I help your people do peopling better through empathy, emotional intelligence, joy, and play. Let me come and light up the space and teach you how to keep the light going. So I am just so delighted to have been joined here to talk about psychological safety as the new corporate currency. And just so everybody maybe already knows, I do this bi-weekly, so please join us on September 8th. Again, 11:45 a.m. Pacific. It might not be daylight savings time anymore at that point. I don't know. But anyways, join us again. Topic to be coming your way. And thank you again, Annie and Rebecca, for joining us. So appreciate you all. We'll say